Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, run it back. Run it up, then run it back.
Happy Friday. Ooh, I'm like off right there. Welcome to Run It Back. What is up? Lou, Will, Chandler P, Boogie, myself. It's hat day. It's Friday. Do we call these hats or caps? What do you call these?
That would be hats.
Hats. Okay, good. I'm a different generation. Let me get it right. Boogie's off to Mongolia. I'm just going to say it as many times as I can, Boogie. I'll never be able to say it again in my life, so I love it so much. This is our last day before you get on the plane, but we'll see you from there.
Absolutely.
We got games. We had games last night. We had some fun games. Cade Cunningham must have been watching the show, and he must have found out about those ridiculous odds for him at MVP because he put one on the Garden last night, finished with 42, 13, 8 rebounds. He was 17 of 34 from the field. Remember, no Darryn, no Isaiah Stewart for the Pistons, and it wasn't even close. 126-111, your final. The Detroit Pistons victorious, 3-0 against the Knicks this season. By the way, not just 3-0. They've won those games by 38, 31, and 15. Stan Van Gundy, who was calling the game, shout out, said it on the air. The Knicks are not tough enough to hang with the Pistons, Boogie. Is it just that simple?
It's just that simple. And I remember speaking on, signs of weakness when they had the little scuffle with OG in the beginning of the season. I called them out on it then. I told them I don't think that's a good sign for this New York Knicks team to allow that type of situation to happen. I feel like teams will view that and think they can come in and punk you. We fast forward to now, and what are we hearing? That this team isn't tough enough. I've been saying it all year. I like this Knicks team. They're a good group. They have a good chemistry. But is it enough for them to get over the hump? And it's just not. I think Detroit is the clear-cut best team in this conference. I think the Celtics are a close second. But this Detroit team they're the real deal. They put this type of performance on without their two bigs and Isaiah Stewart and Darryn. And it just goes to show that this team has a lot of will, has a lot of fight, and they also have a lot of trust within one another. So, like I said, this group is the real deal. I think they'll continue to show. I'm looking forward to how they perform in these playoffs. I think we'll see an even better version of this group. But once again, this team is the real deal.
Yeah. No, agreeing with you, Boogie. Like watching that game last night, Detroit did everything they could. They gave themselves second chance opportunities at the basket, loose balls, toughness, allowing New York just one shot at the basket. All of those small, intangible things that are winning habits. Detroit has them, and that swings the pendulum over to them to be able to be a tougher team than the New York Knicks. And you saw it last night. Even down to, like you said, Durant is out of the lineup, Stewart is out of the lineup. But you get a guy like Paul Reed that gets an opportunity to play extended minutes. He takes advantage of his opportunity. He's out there frustrating Cat, doing everything that he can to give them second chance opportunities to get other plays, to get Cade another opportunity at the basket. So when you have a team like that no matter what, they just fill in guys and they go out and they do their jobs, they do their parts, that makes them tougher. And you could just see it. They just created separation on New York last night to just show, look, in between these 1 through 4s, we got some separation. We're not in that group. And they did that last night. So we start having these conversations about statement games and teams and doing their thing and Cade being a part of the MVP conversation. This was a huge statement game for them to come out of the break and play the game that they played and to make New York Knicks look the way that they made them look.
Yeah, Lou just mentioned it. This is the second game without the two bigs, and Paul Reed just inserts and is the second best player on this team. This is just their identity. This is next man up mentality. It doesn't matter who that they play that night. They have a formula, and they just outwork you. They're tougher than you. They beat you up. And then they got a guy like Cade Cunningham, who literally yesterday we sat there and said, how is this guy not in the MVP conversation? And he goes to the Mecca and absolutely shows out on the biggest stage in the world and drops 42 and gets a huge win coming out of All-Star break, where sometimes you see some sluggish basketball, sometimes you see some sloppiness. He didn't miss a beat. So this was a huge performance for them. Again, without two of their most important players. It's just next man up. Doesn't matter. Offense, shots going down. This team is going to outplay you. They're going to play harder than you. And that is half the battle nowadays. And if you look across the board, the Knicks are way more talented. The Cavs, the Celtics are way more talented. That means nothing when you play the Detroit Pistons because they will just beat you up the entire game, and they have Cade Cunningham that could just close it out for you. And 34 shots, I don't think it's enough. I think he can continue to be more aggressive and continue to have the ball in his hands and do special things like he did last night. So this was a huge win coming out of the break. And again, shout out Paul Reed too. Hasn't played much, not in the rotation, and two games in a row where he's been dominant with the big fellas out.
Yeah, and Cade did the opposite. Like, we criticize guys sometimes, like when you have other guys out of the lineup, we criticize you for not being aggressive enough. Cade said, nah, they don't want to play. They not in the lineup. Well, listen, we going to live and die by me shooting this basketball 34 times tonight. And so you don't mind it, right? Like, even though he's 17 for 34, still 50% on the night. That's a lot of reps. But I like the fact you're the star player of this team and you have some of your really good players out of the lineup. Listen, I'm not going to ease into this game. I'm not going to see how it's going to go and go with the flow of the game. No, I'm going to create the flow of the game. I'm going to create how this game is going to be played, and we're going to go from there. So a lot of good signs of leadership coming from Cade Cunningham with the way he was able to go about that game last night and as many attempts as he took.
Look, we said it last year when the playoffs ended for Detroit anyways. The way they ended against New York, that playoff series, like that, I just think that there's a special drawer from which they're drawing their power when they play this Knicks team, which is why I cannot wait for this. I hope we get it in the playoffs. Boogie, yesterday we talked a little bit about Cade as MVP, and it's funny because what did I say? Put $1 on it if you're in a free stake for me. It was 20-1 yesterday, 7-1 today. Dang it! I told you all to put $1 on it yesterday. So here's the thing, Boogie, because Stan Van Gundy, again, and I even texted with him after the game. Yes, I'm an insider, about him being MVP, because for some that sounds crazy, because I don't know if it's that they're not familiar with Cade Cunningham. Thank you. Is it not supposed to be the guy who's most valuable to his team?
Hey,
it's also
man, one thing that I love about the second half of the season is the dust somewhat more settles. And, we can get over the, preseason MVP favorites, and the league goes about it in a way where they push certain guys at the beginning of the season. The great thing about the second half is you're going to know who the clear-cut almost favorite is in a sense. And with this now being the present day, I believe Cade Cunningham will take off as far as being the lead guy in this MVP race. The number one team in the East, he's been consistent all year. He's leading a group that no one expected to be in this position. He's mature beyond his years. He's a clutch player. Everything you ask for in a leader, a superstar, a franchise guy, he's been able to deliver it, and deliver it at a young age. So, his play speaks for itself. He's absolutely should be at least top 2 in this conversation, if not 1. So I think with this second half, I think he runs off with this race, and he really makes a name for this season.
Yeah. Runs off with the that's big.
Yeah, I don't know if he runs off, but we are in a what have you done for me lately league, and right now it's Cade Cunningham. He's doing everything that he can to insert himself. He was in the conversation, but we had him in like 4, 5 in that conversation. He got an opportunity now to put himself in the top 2, especially while SGA is out of his lineup, especially while Denver is trying to figure it out with a tough game against the Clippers last night. And Cade Cunningham, he breezed through his game. If he can put 4 or 5 of these together, especially while those guys are out of the lineup, you can't help but notice the impact that he's having around the league and on his team as an individual. You got to put him in a conversation. And listen, numbers don't lie. It went from 20-1 to 7-1 overnight based on his 42-point performance. And he put 2 or 3 of these together. It's going to be hard not to acknowledge the fact that he's been able to do this. It's going to be hard to ignore it for sure.
I said this yesterday, but how are we voting? If you take Cade Cunningham off the Pistons, I swear, I think they're a play-in team. Like I think they're drastically different. The Thunder,
and if you put them on the Knicks, they would be the number 1 team in the East.
the Thunder are still nice without SGA. Like Jokic is the best player in the NBA, I think, but I think the Nuggets can still win games with Jamal Murray with that group. You take Cade Cunningham off this team, it looks completely different. So it depends on, I guess, how you're voting. But like the most valuable player to his team this year is Cade Cunningham. And I don't even think it's close, bro.
Wow. So if we all had votes right now, and we don't,
Gotta agree.
are we? Because are we voting Cade? Boogie, are we? I know Lou's kind of on the fence.
For me,
yeah.
First and second is Cade, then Jaylen Brown. Then it's everybody else.
Okay.
That's my
Jaylen Brown's been hoping.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Yeah, he's got my vote. Again, from every reason we said, he's a two-way player. He's one of the most clutch players. He's tough. Like, he's created this whole identity with his team where they're contending. They're the least talented championship contending teams I've ever seen in my life. It's just because they play hard, they're tough. And Cade Cunningham, like JB Bickerstaff has created this entire new identity with this team, and it's obviously led by him. Like Jalen Duren's a hell of a big. He's going to be there for a long time, but they don't even have a clear-cut second option. Obviously, he's the second guy. He's the second all-star, but it is just next man up. It is defend. It is toughness, and it is just everything that this guy does. So, yeah, if I had to vote, it's got to be Cade Cunningham to me.
So can I sort of piggyback, Boogie, off of something you sort of threw in there all nonchalant, like if Cade was on the Knicks, they'd be number one. So are you saying, all right, so we trade them, right? Brunson's a Piston, Cade's a Knick. Are they clear cut number one then, New York?
I believe so. And it's no knock to Brunson. I believe Cade Cunningham is that elite of a player, especially this season. I think he elevates everybody around him. I think he makes the guys around him believe more than they probably should. Like I said, he's mature beyond his years. And the biggest thing that's going unnoticed when it comes to speaking on Cade Cunningham is he plays both sides of the ball. I feel like as far as speaking on the superstars in this league, that's a rare thing. Most of the guys we praise in this league, they're huge offensive guys, but you're not getting it on the other side of the court. And that's something that this kid is doing every single night on a consistent basis.
I also did it in the All-Star game, and I'll never forget. By the way, he did an interview with GQ. It's funny because you don't hear him talk a ton, but I do like some of the stuff he's been saying when he does talk. His biggest issue right now in the league is the following, and I quote, the refs have to get involved with the flopping because we're baiting people into fouls all the time. The flopping is just too much. 3 out of the top 5, top 10 guys are doing it constantly. He also did mention, Lou, that he would have better stat lines if he were to engage in some of this flopping, but he thinks it affects the flow of the game. What do you make of these comments?
He's still young. He'll adjust.
That's a talent. It's a skill to be able to get those calls.
Yeah. Look, he'll adjust. I like the fact that he's calling this out, but there's gonna come a time in Cade Cunningham's career where he's gonna try to just put points on the board easier than he is right now. Like obviously he's a dynamic guard and he can score with the best of them with the ball in his hands. But at some point, he's going to start rigging the game up. He's going to start paying attention to the end of the quarters when teams are in the bonus. Or, if a guy got one foul that you don't necessarily want to match up with and you got an opportunity to get him his second foul just based on how he's playing you. Those are all little games inside of a game, with a guy being too aggressive, Cade just ripping through and doing all of those things. None of those are flops, but those are ways that you can rig up the game and put yourself in a position to be successful and to make sure on the offensive end that it's always going to go your way. Every single trip down the court, you got to get something out of that possession, whether it's a foul on the opposing team's best player, best defender, or whether it's getting 2 free throws, whether it's putting your team in a bonus. All of those little things helps the control of the game. So right now, he's able to do it. He's able to get to the rim. He's able to get to his mid-range. He's able to shoot threes. He's a 3-tier scorer, make no doubt about it. But when you get to a point where you can manipulate the game for your liking, and I agree with him, some of these guys do it a little too often, and sometimes they go out of their way to try to bait and create these foul opportunities. He don't have to do that yet, but if he wants to get to a place where he can get an added extra 6 to 10 points a game just by using his size and using his brain to manipulate the game like that, he'll put it in his bag eventually. But I do like the fact that he's calling this out. Let's get back to some pure basketball. Let's really score this basketball. But at the end of the day, It's one thing to bait guys into fouls, and it's another thing to flop. They're not two of the same things. Flopping and baiting fouls are two completely different things. So at some point, I guarantee you, Cade Cunningham will change his tune on the baiting part. I don't see him as much as a flopper because of his size. I don't think he has to flop at his size, but eventually, when he knows that his team got 4 fouls and Devin Booker or somebody runs up, and all you got to do is swing through to get those easy two free throws at the line just to swing the game your way. Trust me, he'll throw it in his bag for sure.
And love it or hate it, it's a skill, right? Like what SGA, what Brunson, what Luka, what Joel Embiid, what those guys do to get to the free throw line, Austin Reeves, like that is a talent, that is a skill, and that is what good scorers have learned to do. And the game has evolved, and the officiating has changed to where these guys have mastered getting to the free throw line. And again, he dropped 42 last night. He was unreal. He had 3 free throw attempts and 34 field goal attempts. Like he could have easily had 50+ points last night if he could find a way to use this to his advantage, like these other top scorers do. So I agree with him. I think it's exhausting watching it. It's not ethical basketball, but at the same time, you got to respect the guys that can get to the stripe, that can slow the game down, that can stop a run and get to the free throw line and get, like Lou said, 6, 8, 10 points a game extra, just by outsmarting you and literally forcing your way to the free throw line like these other guys have mastered to do. So I respect the way he plays, and we talk about his size. He's a 6'7" point guard, but Joel Embiid does it. He's a 7-foot center. Like Luka's a big boy. Like these bigger guys, like they all do it, and it has now become such part of the game where at some point he will add this to his game, and you'll see him go from 24, 25 points a game to 30+ because he'll get way more free throw attempts. So
you know what I saw last night, Chandler? Yeah, last night what I saw, Sohan goes into the game. He's pressuring him up the court. He's physical with him. Like, look, all it takes is for me one time for you to put your hands on me, swing through. That's one foul, Sohan. Now in the half court, it's going to go my way now because you got to back up because you don't want to go to the bench. Now I've created space. You want to run up again? Now I'm going to use my physicality. I'm jab stepping. I'm going through your body. Now that's your second foul. So you don't have to flop or foul bait. It's just a matter of controlling how guys can guard you and for it to swing your way every time on the offensive end. So, that's something that he can put in his game. But instead, last night, he fought the pressure. And some guys like that. Some guys like to fight pressure up the court. Now, me, on the other hand, I did not. I didn't. I don't want you guarding me 94 feet. So if you're going to guard me 94 feet, I'm going to make sure we tangle our bodies up. Yeah. You're going to get aggressive. I'm going to fall down or something, or I'm going to swing through. Now you got a foul. Now you got to guard me way at the 3-point line down the floor. So those are small things that can control it. Chandler just said it, 34 attempts. Well, you could have took 8 of these off the board and turned them into 4 trips to the free throw line a lot easier for you. And you can adjust it. You can adjust and manage the game even better. But that's something that he learned as a player.
Would you call yourself a flopper or a baiter? Like if I was
a
get
baiter.
You hard. Okay.
I was a baiter for sure. I never flopped.
Tangling bodies out there, just baiting them up. Hey guys, today's about me getting terms. Normally I go to our Captain America Chandler on Olympic questions, but I'm going to start with Boogie on this one because Cade mentioned also his goal is to make the Olympic team. I love that he said all this.
He believes he's the best starting point guard.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, what do you mean? Of course he's on the team.
He got his invite
known
today
as the best
after he
American-born player, guys. That's his goal, Boogie. I feel like we're past that, dude. Like you're on the team. No,
I think he's a starting guard for the USA team.
No doubt.
I'm not sure when he, had this interview or whatever, but as of today and moving forward, I think the conversation is he's starting at the 1 or the 2 for this USA team. So I think he's definitely made a name for himself. And outside of the great play, I think the biggest thing that he's made a name for himself as is being a great leader and doing it and I keep speaking on that because I'm so impressed by it as far as just him being
only 24.
Very, very mature beyond his years. So I think that's probably one of his best qualities outside of all the gifts that he has on the court. So, as of today moving forward, I don't think this is a question. It's more so about, is he starting at the 1 or 2 for Team USA coming up?
Yeah.
Boogie, do we live in a
Listen.
world where he hasn't gotten a phone call from Team USA yet?
I mean, maybe they haven't started doing
If
that
he
yet.
hasn't, Grant Hill is tripping. This dude is a starting point guard. It's him and Anthony Edwards and Devin Booker and fill out whoever else, whether it's Tatum or Jalen Duren. Like, who cares? But this dude right here, the best American player, he's up there.
I like it.
Him,
I like
Anthony
the goal.
Edwards. Anthony Edwards is right there. I mean, Jalen Brunson, Jaylen Brown, like Jason Tatum, like the USA team's going to be stacked. But the one thing I think is for sure is this dude, he should be the starting point guard. I think it's Cade. I think it's Ant. I think it's Book. And then fill out whoever else I wish Jaylen Brown didn't have so much beef with Team USA because he should be on the team.
It's not him.
And I think his teammate is the starting center on Team USA, Jalen Duren. So I think they both shape up that starting five.
We are the United States of America. We're not going to start this best American player thing. All of our American players can hoop.
We are collective.
We are the United States of America. We're not going to start this best.
We will win gold.
By the way, we're in Canadian hockey hat today.
And he'll be a huge reason. Beadle, we will win gold, and he will be a
Beadle
huge
is
reason
Team
why.
World. Beadle, we gotta get you. We gotta get you back on the right side, Beadle.
Well, you better get this country on the right side, and then I'll join you. We're gonna take a quick break. Yeah, drink that water, Chandler. We're taking a break. When we come back, we've got more hoops. See you in a second. So we got a little Chris Paul reaction. We sort of hadn't heard much from him since all of this sort of just fizzled. But he was on Carmelo Anthony's podcast and he addressed the departure. One of the things he said was that the Clippers didn't want him giving players advice, which sort of felt like what we were getting there. Again, Spurs wanted him to, Clippers didn't. It seems Boogie nonsensical, but they had their reasons. So when you hear him say that, what do you think?
I can relate. I went through a similar situation. I know exactly how it feels. I know the confusion that comes behind it. I know the frustration that comes behind it. When you get to a certain age in this league, they look for you to, do certain responsibilities as far as lead the young guys, great advice, all of these things, drop down knowledge, all of these, different things as far as being a veteran. But the part that kind of gets missed in all of it is, what I think an organization is looking for is pushing their message, not necessarily, the right message. And I say I was in a similar situation. When I was in Houston, my teammate at the time, Christian Woods, was going through, some injuries. He was going through some ankle injuries, a nagging ankle injury that kept reoccurring. So me and him had what I thought was a private conversation. And, I gave him the best advice I could and what I think will help his situation moving forward. I said, hey, man, you need to really focus on the rehab part because obviously you're not rehabbing it to the point where it's coming back with strength and you're going to keep having this same injury if you don't handle the rehab correctly. So I said, take your time. It's really no rush because the Rockets are tanking this season. This was the same season they got rid of James Harden and it was a whole rebuild mode as far as the Rockets moving forward. So for me, my intentions are in the right place. I'm giving this individual the best advice I thought was good for him in the moment. And obviously, a coach was kind of ear hustling behind the scenes, and he felt what I was saying was completely wrong as far as the views of the team and moving forward with the organization. So it got back to the front office, and eventually I ended up getting cut for it. So I can absolutely understand where Chris Paul is coming from as far as, not really understanding their angle as far as what they felt was wrong or right. But when it comes to being a vet and dealing with younger players, you're going to give them the advice coming from a player standpoint. It's not ever going to be the front office's standpoint. So that's kind of more so where I can relate to Chris Paul and understand, like I said, the frustration behind it and also the confusion. Because at the end of the day, if we're giving the advice to these young guys as vets that have been through it, we're going to give it from a perspective of a player and a guy and from a player's perspective and the experiences that we experienced throughout our career. So I can totally understand the confusion.
Yeah, I don't understand where the disconnect was, right? Like where was the miscommunication? Like you bring a guy in like Chris Paul, who's at the end of his career. He's the greatest Clipper of all time. He's there as like kind of another coach in that locker room. I know this is an older team, and they were probably eye rolling to some of the stuff that he was saying. It's not exactly like a growing, rebuilding team where you need Chris Paul's voice in that locker room, and it didn't sit well. I get that, but like I just don't understand. This was supposed to be such a feel-good story. You bring the greatest Clipper back of all time. You let him end his career here, no matter what kind of minutes he's looking at. He's still a valuable asset in that locker room. And it just got sideways so quickly, and it went the other way. So I just don't understand what the recruiting pitch was. What was the reason in signing this guy if this isn't what you wanted? Because this is who Chris Paul is. He is a vocal book of knowledge that is going to continue to just speak and coach. And again, it's an older team, so like maybe it didn't sit well with some of those guys in that locker room, and they were pretty bad during this stretch. Like they were losing games. It was frustrating. I get it, but I just don't understand where that disconnect was with him. And this was supposed to be such a fairy tale ending going back to LA, and it just ended in disaster. And I've never played with Chris Paul. I love Chris Paul. I'm glad he's retiring now and made a bunch of money and going to play golf. I hate how it ended for him, where he made history and where he was the best player ever.
It sounds like somebody made a bad decision, and that person should probably be roasted a little bit more because you know who he is. Speaking of, Lawrence Frank did tell him we're going to retire that bad boy at some point. Now, my question to you is that if you're Chris Paul, is that weird? Is that awkward? Like, what's that going to look like? Do you even want it?
No, you gotta go through it. And also Chris Paul he predates Lawrence Frank as a Clipper anyways, right? And so what he's been able to do, DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin, those are obviously the three guys that their jerseys are going to go up in the rafters the minute that they see fit. And it's much deserved. We hate the way that this thing ended, but the truth to the matter is all three of those guys deserve for their jerseys to go up in the rafters and be the first three guys to represent the Clippers in that fashion. So this is a bad breakup. It's a bad feeling, but it shouldn't overweigh the positive impact that Chris Paul was able to have on this franchise and this organization. Even when I got to the Clippers, it was so much pressure on us to at least eclipse what they did or to even match it because of the impact that those guys had. So yes, this is a bad taste in his mouth, but by the time that we have that ceremony, I'm sure everybody will be over it and he'll be able to be celebrated appropriately. And so I don't think this changes the direction of history. I think it's much deserved. I think he'll be celebrated in that fashion. And that's that on that. I don't have all of the small nuances of what was going on behind the scenes. What I will say is I was looking at their roster to start this season. You got Brad Beal, Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, Chris Dunn, Brooke Lopez, Jason Collins, D. Jones Jr. You had Zubac. You got Bogdanovich. That is a veteran basketball team. That's not a young team. Yeah, that's a really good basketball team. So, whether Chris Paul's voice was accepted or not in such a veteran locker room, especially with them struggling or not, I don't have the answers to that, but I can see where that's problematic. So at this point, Chris is happy. He's announced his retirement. He's able to spend more time with his family. Also, he has a 16-year-old son who's on the cusp of being a great player. So, he's been able to be in the gym and be with him every step of the way in his young career. So it's a lot of positives to this, right? We can harp on the fact of what happened a couple of months ago, but it had a positive end. We would have loved to see him have, the farewell tour that a player of his talent and his caliber deserves. But at the end of the day, he's at peace with his career. He's happy with everything. And that's the only thing that we can respect at this point.
It's crazy that little kid from the commercials is 16 years old.
And hooping about it. Doing his thing.
Is he tall? Is he taller than Chris? Like I've not seen him.
He's going to be a baller. He's going to represent the family name well.
I think if I was Chris Paul on the retirement of the jersey, I would do the scene from Half Baked, or I would, whatever. Or I would be like, I want to make sure publicly it's known that certain people will not be invited into the gym the day we do this. I would want something like the ego needs to be fed.
Beadle,
well, some of those people are going to be part of organizing it, so he ain't got.
Well, some of those people need to be like, you're not allowed in here when we do this part.
This is also the same franchise that looked Blake Griffin in the eye and said you were going to die a Clipper and your jersey's going to go up and traded him that night to Detroit. So It's happened, but it's happened before.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I just, there's some petty that needs to go down.
I'll leave it alone.
We know. Yeah, we know Luz. By the way, I'm not the right person to ask this because I obviously already knew this. But there was a different show that CP3 was on. He said the Spurs were the best organization that he's been a part of, Boogie. So my question to you maybe isn't so much, does it surprise you? What I want to know is, what does that mean to a player? Like, what makes the Spurs the best organization to him? How does that work?
Well, I'm not sure what made the Spurs the best organization, but for me, I think it starts at the top. I think obviously, ownership has to have the right intentions. But me personally, I think it's better when ownership isn't involved. I think they should hire somebody that's actually good at sports and let them handle it. So for me, it starts with the GM. I think the GM is the balance in everything that happens within the organization. I think he's the balance between the coaches and the players. I think he's the balance between the owner and the coach. He's the balance between, obviously, the GM and the coach. So I think the GM is the bridge with everything that happens within the team. And his mindset, his demeanor, the way he carries himself, his personality, being able to relate to the players, being able to relate to the coach, being able to, keep an owner at bay who may not know or have as much knowledge in this sport to, actually put an opinion on it, but at the same time respecting them as being the money man. I think all of those qualities matter. And then I think, eventually it trickles down, throughout the rest of the organization. But for me, I think it starts with the GM. And then, it creates whatever it creates within the organization. So I believe that's, what creates a great organization as far as what the players are looking for.
It's always feels like there's a standard with them too, right? Like there's a standard with Pop, the Spurs, Duncan, like those teams. It's just like exactly what you have to do if you go to the Spurs.
Although what? Look, there have been outliers. Like not everyone had a perfect existence within that Spurs organization, but at the end of the day, it's still the best. Okay, let's go to college for a second, really, really quick, and I know Chandler, you're big on this stuff, but Darryn Peterson is making some more news lately. It's not necessarily great. He's obviously hell of a player. But on Wednesday, he only played 18 minutes, hits a three, then signals over to his coach, Bill Self, and has him removed from the game. Now, this would not normally be a story. However, it's not the first time it's happened. He was a late scratch against Arizona. He's only played 30 or more minutes 6 times so far this season. People are making some comparisons that aren't necessarily favorable, Chandler, and he's still the favorite to be number 1. But are you starting to have weird doubts?
No, and the fact of the matter is he could not play another college basketball game and go number 1 or number 2 in this draft. And this kid is dead nice. He is one of the next great guards, I think, in the NBA. And I don't really even understand the whole video thing where like he points and taps Bill Self. Like I get it. There must have been something that's going on and some sort of arrogant kind of gesture that he made because Bill Self hated it and took him out of the game. And there's been history with this guy. He's just told at halftime, I'm not playing the second half. And obviously he's been milking injuries, but he's a shoe lock-in number 1, number 2 pick. This guy's not going to play every single game. He doesn't have to. He's making a lot of money now with NIL, so there's standards and there's expectations when you make that type of money now. But I didn't understand the whole beef with the pointing thing, and I get that, but. Because
he's done it a lot. He's done it several times.
Chandler, don't play another game. You'll still go number 1 or 2.
It's an issue. It's an issue because his agent and the GM of Kansas, they've been seen having conversations during games, and shortly after those conversations, he either comes out of the game or he doesn't play anymore. And I agree with you. He's probably going to be a top 3 pick no matter what. But young fella got to set a standard. Like we can't do this to the game. You gotta set a standard. I understand that this is new territory. This is uncharted water that we're seeing, but you gotta show us. Like you gotta go out there and prove your worth. Like you can be the number 1 pick and still be forgotten in the NBA. You still can be forgotten if you're the number 2 pick in the NBA. You got to go out there and show and prove. So, I'm not a huge college basketball fan, but I am fan enough to know who are the top guys, and I want to see their availability. What are you doing to draw excitement or any good vibes towards your way? If I'm a fan and I want to get behind your brand, I don't even know what your brand is, and so we are in some. Yeah, we're in some tricky spaces right now. So that's the issue, Chandler. Like when you shoot a 3, and as soon as you make a 3, you want to come out of the game. It's like,
Yeah.
The world that I know, you don't want to hit another three. Like you don't want to.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that more?
And
You
you don't want to
keep
show up
going.
your coach. That's, by the way, a legendary coach. You
That's
still
a
want this
legend, by the
negative.
way. Yeah.
And by the way, he's awesome. Like, and it's like you don't want, like, it feels like Ace Bailey. Like, I feel like there's just like this negative energy
Not
around
good.
this guy before he makes it, gets to the NBA. It's like, just stop. I agree, but just stop. You're so talented. You were going to be a top pick regardless. Whether you play another college basketball game in Kansas or you don't, or you do or you don't, you will be a number 1 or number 2 pick regardless. So don't have this reputation before you even get to the league that anything negative and let anybody say anything that could possibly, alter your career and your trajectory of where you're going. So I agree with it's not a good look, but man, this kid is so talented and he's so good and he's going to be a hell of a player.
Oh,
I think he's the most talented guard, not mentioning a Darius A. Cuff, a Flemings from Houston, even a LeBaron Fallon from Alabama, my young boy out of the city. So I do think this is a very, very talented draft, but I do think he's one of the top guards in it. And I think he's, from what I'm seeing, and I'm on the outside looking in, this is all speculation and opinion, but this is obviously some sort of a long-term plan as far as always being able to give a sample size, but not giving the entire entree. And it's like he wants to show flashes of the talent, but also it seems to be a long-term plan in place as far as, taking that next step to the NBA and continuing on with his career. Am I saying this is the correct plan? No. But I'm assuming that this is some type of plan that him and his team have moving forward. But for me, I'm more so with Lou. And obviously this isn't my era of basketball as far as the NIL and all that, but I do know when it comes to NIL, it's obviously a contract. You sign that contract, and with that, you have responsibilities within it. And his responsibility is to go play basketball. So if you are available, I believe you should be on the court playing. And it's not, and obviously, your plan is important. I respect the plan. You as an individual in your career is important. I respect that. But you also have to respect everybody else in that locker room. And most of all, a Hall of Fame coach in Bill Self. I don't think he deserves that. So for me, I feel like if this was the route that they wanted to go as far as carving out his long term, then maybe the G League could have been a better option as far as, showing flashes, preparing them for the long term, obviously having communications behind the scenes with these different NBA teams. I just felt that would have been a more proper route compared to kind of sabotaging the college game the way they have so far. So that's really my only issue.
Guys, if you're his teammate, who's
if I'm his teammate, I'm pissed. Especially
first of all, if I'm his teammate, I'm pissed. If I'm any of the Kansas alumni that I've put in on his NIL, I'm pissed.
Boom.
It's like I've never seen so many college coaches frustrated in a season after games than I have this year.
Crashing out everywhere.
They are losing it. Because we got to find, I said there was a lot of gray areas with this NIL thing. It's a ton of gray areas. We got to figure out where do we go from here. Now we got guys dictating how much they're going to play. They got representation that's actually having input on things. Like there is a level of entitlement that some of these guys have earned. But what do you do with that entitlement? Knowing that you can go in and out of a game, I want to show my teammates that I'm steadfast with y'all. I want to show my coach, I know I'm going number 1, but I'm really like that. I want to go out and be the best player that I can be at this moment. Right now, we don't have anybody that cares about being in the moment. Everybody is looking to the future. And sometimes it's brighter and sometimes it's not. Who's going to be in the moment and show us you're great right now? And so, this is not just about Darryn Peterson. It's just about how we're going to carry it moving forward, because you're not going to be able to do that at the you're not going to be able to do that at the NBA level until you get to a certain place at the NBA level. We're not having this conversation about you, young guy, like rookie, second year. We don't care nothing about what you did in college. We don't care. You're not going to have that wiggle room. So at some point, you got to learn how to work, and you got to learn how to lead, and you got to learn how to be a trailblazer of all of these things. And again, this NIL world is uncharted water. This is all new. These are all new experiences. So we're seeing these young guys deal with it in real time. I just don't like the optics of it, and that's why a lot of the reason I opt out of not just participating and watching college basketball into March Madness as it is.
This is fair. Oh yeah, how's that going to go? By the way, okay, so Boogie, he hits a three. He checks himself out of the game. I need to start paying better attention to the bench when he does this, so I can sort of get. By the way, the internet refers to him as DMP. So just so we're like aware of sort of what his rep is turning into.
That's great.
Boogie, are you saying something to him? Is
That's
anyone?
not a good thing. That's not a good thing.
I mean, for me, I'm definitely saying something as a teammate. Like I said, I had the pleasure of playing with a guy that knew he was going to be a number one pick in John Wall. And the way he approached every game, you would have thought this guy was never on the draft board. Coming into the season, this guy knew he was the number one pick. And he approached every game like it was his last. So if Darryn Peterson is my teammate, I'm absolutely saying something. Either you with us or you're not. Like, take that bullshit somewhere else, because I'm not happy with, the way you're handling this situation. Like I said, he's an individual with his own individual, situation, but it's also 12, 13, 14 other guys that are there trying to compete for a national championship, taking advantage of the opportunities that's in front of them. And I'm not saying anybody's situation is bigger than the next, but at the end of the day, everybody has to respect everybody's situation. And that's really my only issue in this entire thing. Like, you may not be on the same page with the coach. You may not be on the same page with the front office, whatever the case may be, but you at least got to be on the same page with the guys in the locker room. And if not that, it at least has to be some form of a mutual respect as far as what we bring to the game, the sacrifices, the blood, sweat, and tears, and et cetera, et cetera. And that's my only issue with all of this.
Yeah.
Chandler, I think he's going to be a cautionary tale if he doesn't figure this out.
I just don't like I don't like the negativity surrounding his name. He's too good. He's too talented. He's going to have a hell of a career. But enough with this bad energy around your name before you even make it. Like, stop.
Yeah.
And once again, I don't necessarily blame the kid. Like you said earlier, it's almost another Ace Bailey type situation. The representation is more entitled than the actual product. And that's the part that bothers me as well. Like, the representation is willing to put this negative rap on this kid's name or Ace Bailey's name just so they can benefit in the long run.
So you're digging a hole that you haven't even started yet.
Whoever's close to this kid, mother, father, big cousin, uncle, whatever.
No, he has an agent.
Well, who is this agent?
And that's what I'm trying to say. Make sure
he's got an agent, he's got a manager.
The real blood is protecting him from the business. Because sometimes business can put a negative spin on your name.
Now you're 18 years old, though, and you're dealing with agents and managers and financial advisors that are just fleecing you and doing
still a kid, bro.
That's what I'm saying. It's a different world.
You're not gonna have this type of pool next year. Trust me.
Damn.
You're not gonna have this type of pool next year. So get used to just being your own man and trailblaze. Tell them, hey, y'all gotta back up. Y'all gotta let me go out there and prove who I am and show my worth. We already know he's a talented player. We know he's gonna be top 3 in this draft already. But go out there and show us. That's all. Just go out there and show us. So even if you don't agree with it, fight it. Just fight it. Simple and plain.
Yeah.
Fight your agent, Wasserman. He's got his own problems. We're going to take a quick break.
Your agent works for you. You don't work for your agent.
Sometimes that gets lost. I swear to God. Quick break. We'll run it back on the other side.
I'm skiing.
Shams reported, shout out yesterday, that Adam Silver's informed teams now that the plans for the anti-tanking, those rules, into effect next season. That didn't take very long. This is, of course, on the heels of the Jazz and the Pacers both being fined by the league. Matt Ishbia has already gone to Twitter, call out teams for harming the integrity of the league. So there have been a bunch of possible ideas thrown out there about what is this going to look like. One of the ideas that's been floated around, even as recently as last night, Stan Van Gundy, is free agency. So the draft is basically no longer. All kids, all men, all dudes coming in from college will be automatic free agents and let the games begin. Boogie, you're shaking your head. It's kind of exciting, but tell me what's wrong with it.
Is it slotted, though? Is there like a cap that you still can pay these guys? Or
you
is it just a normal free?
Yeah, it's still no free agency. Yeah, so you still have to adhere to the rules of your team, salary cap.
You can sign Cooper Flagg to 5 years, $250 right at a.
Yeah, if that's how you want to spend your money, you can do that. What are we thinking? What are the cons here? Because I like it and I can't figure out what's wrong.
For the players, I like it. For structure, I hate it.
Okay, go on.
I
Why?
I want everybody to get paid. I want all the guys to get paid, but that can blow up in your face. So
Yeah, I think part of the draft, there's a process that you go and you become a pro, and there's steps to becoming that max player. So if you eliminate that whole process, you're just guessing. Like, you're just giving Darryn Peterson $200 million out of the, just based on
100%.
for him to
17
sub out
like,
in the first quarter of every game.
Hey,
Yeah, we
but
think
that's
it's
how you
as a
want to
team
now
spend
with
your money.
NIL.
as a team, I'm
Yeah,
hesitant to
okay.
do that. As a team, I'm hesitant to do that. I like the option of having a team option in that third or fourth year coming out of the draft. Like, I like that much better, so you can see the progress and the growth of these kids and these players. They're already getting paid in college. Now you just give them a huge bag before they even become an actual professional NBA
Well,
player.
but by the way, you don't have to do that. That's the whole thing. As
Yeah.
if they're
but
free
somebody
agents,
will,
you can
right?
do
Like
whatever.
somebody's
But
gonna.
that's on them. Let that be their regret if it turns out
Yeah,
to be
we
a
don't
regret.
like
Might
it. What
also be the
other
greatest thing
options
that's
we
ever
got?
happened.
We don't like that one. We don't like
Come
that
on,
one.
guys. We love that.
Next.
Like, think about like a
No, we don't.
hometown kid can stay in their hometown. Like, it's that could be Hollywood-esque.
The draft
Yeah,
is
sure.
awesome.
But if
We have
you're
to
an 8-year NBA vet fighting for your career, trying to find footing, and this kid that hasn't proved anything comes in and get a max deal out the gate, that
Salty.
looks kind of crazy.
Exactly.
Okay,
I'm salty.
fine. I never agree with you guys. It's starting to hurt
What
my
if you
feelings. How
sign a
about
kid and
this?
he's a bust?
But
Right.
that's that happens anyways.
I give
Stinker.
Boozer $200 million before he plays an NBA game. No chance in hell I'm doing
Yeah,
that if I'm an
that's
NBA team.
If
Okay, but that's
I'm
the whole
a
point. You
owner
don't
or
have to do
GM,
it.
I'm not. No.
And it'll ruin free agency. How can you justify negotiating with me every summer if I'm a vet for my contract when you're giving this kid a contract that has nothing to negotiate against?
Yeah.
How can you justify that?
If I'm Lou Will in July when free agency starts, and you just gave some kid from like Wake Forest $150 million, I'm getting that too. And I'm
want
Okay, but you
that.
guys are jumping
Yeah.
to like the highest. That's the whole
That's
point
what we're
of the free
supposed to
agency.
do.
But
We
that's
are
what free
here
agency
to tell
is.
you this is not a good
Right.
idea.
But that's up to
Can't
the
do it.
teams. Like, if they want to screw themselves by giving ridiculous amounts of money to the unproven, well, then that's your job, your rep,
Hey,
your
so
team on the line. They don't
Beadle,
have to do that.
we've been doing this show for a few years, right? And
Sure.
it's some viral kid that comes out of that went viral for one thing, and they want to give him $100 million, and then we sitting there negotiating for our contract. That'll never work. That'll never work.
Okay, first of all, it happens all the time. Number one.
And by the way,
And how you feel about
Hey,
it?
don't get bees started, bro.
What do
Well,
you-
look, and how do you feel?
want me
And
to
how do you
start
feel
going
about it,
down?
Bees? And how does it make you feel? That's my
Well, I
point.
hate everything about it, but that's
it also
And
life.
that's where we stand.
hey,
And that's where we
this
stand.
still doesn't eliminate tanking. It almost makes tanking worse if you pay a kid that
makes it
ends up not
worse,
good.
yeah.
It could. Okay, fine. You know what? We'll take a break. We'll go back on the other side and wrap things up. I like it. Chaos.
Terrible idea.
We have a minute left. Chandler, I'm starting with you. You got to do a Winter Olympic sport. You have 6 months to train. What are you competing in?
Oh, dear.
Guys, it's easy.
Skiing, I guess. Look, this is what I'm dealing with. I'm about to go out there right now.
Okay, but are you good enough?
go.
Like, I can ski, but I'm not going to be good enough.
No, an Olympian? No, I mean I can
Okay.
I can do my thing.
I'm
But
curling.
I got one. Ski mountaineering, literally just. Okay, you're going to curl? Lou's going to curl.
I'm gonna curl.
Did you?
Curling,
Can I see
yeah.
it again? I need to see your form.
I have an infinity for curling. I even
see the
start
form.
paying attention to the guy cheated with his finger. He pushed it a little bit with his
Yeah,
finger.
he
that was
double
cheating.
fingered. You should never do that. That's all.
Oh wow.
Yeah, no.
Let me see your. What
yeah,
did
okay.
you? Show me what you did.
let's see the form here.
Wow, that is beautiful. That's
I gotta
majestic.
Did I let it go? Did I let it
Not
go?
bad. It's not bad.
Let it go.
Run it back, yeah. Run it up, then run it back, yeah.